When the Bin Laden story broke, by the way, under your leadership was the last, ABC had the last, was it John Murphy? John Miller, I should know. John Miller had the last interview by a Western journalist of Osama bin Laden.
He hiked into the mountains in Afghanistan. This is 1997, my first year on the job. He got an interview. Yeah, and the funny thing was he went in and they hiked forever and they waited forever, and then finally they drove up at night with all these Toyota Land Cruisers shooting off their AK-47s. And one of the aides of bin Laden went into John Miller's tent and said, okay, we'd like to see the questions. He said, I'm sorry, we don't give questions, but it's against the policy for us. He racks his AK-47 and John said, okay, fine, I'll write them out. And John goes in and the entire thing's in Arabic. The entire thing's in Arabic. Well, bin Laden has a translator, but he won't let John have his translator in town. So he's asking the questions, bin Laden's giving answers. And the camera's going back and he has no idea what the answers are. And so John comes out and he says to the translator, well, how'd that go? He said, it's just fine. When he said we're going to destroy all Americans, you were smiling and nodding.
Wow. So you mentioned that you're actually enjoying a little bit of a break from the media, the news world, but you said that did kind of whet your appetite. That's a story you want to be back for.
Sure, you missed that. You missed that. Particularly having been there, there was the John Miller interview, but for 9/11 and for so much, and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, you'd like to sort of see it through to the end. And obviously I was there that Sunday morning when they caught Saddam Hussein and all of that. So yeah, you miss it some, but I don't miss the constant calls in the middle of the night and being 24 hours a day and not really getting a vacation, because even if you're away, you're on call. And it was just not a vacation for 14 years that wasn't interrupted, and it wasn't partly, I won't say ruined, but substantially compromised, because when you get the call, it's weighing on your head, even if you're not spending all your time on it.
Have you followed the David Sokol Warren Buffett story?
I have. I know Warren. Warren was on the Cap Cities board when I was general counsel. And I know, and of course he's very close with Tom Murphy. And I know Warren, I think very highly of him. And also a good friend of mine is named Ron Olson, who's a lawyer in Los Angeles, who's Warren's lawyer. So I have followed, not real closely, but somewhat.
To the extent that we know from public information, David Sokol, Warren Buffett, how do we, I don't think, let's assume that Sokol may not have been illegal what he did, but it certainly seems to violate a lot of the spirits that Buffett has always stood for as far as ethical probity and common sense and sort of straightforward dealing. I don't think Sokol woke up one morning and said, oh, I'm going to try to do something sneaky. It's a series of habits or patterns that maybe he fell into. What's your take on that? When you see someone, you probably had to fire people for ethical breaches.
Sure.
What goes on in those situations?
Well,
how do we not get into them?
Well, Tom Murphy, to go back to Tom again, every year we have a management meeting in Phoenix with the top sort of 150 managers of Cap Cities. And every year he would end the meeting by standing in front of everybody and saying, in some substance, you can make an honest mistake in this company and there will be no adverse consequences. But if you hold yourself or the company up to ridicule and compromise the reputation of the company, you will be fired. Without thinking, and it was a sort of a very powerful part of the DNA of Cap Cities. Now it doesn't mean that nobody ever did anything wrong. When I was general counsel, we had to investigate some people and get rid of some people because they did things wrong. I never quite understood why. But I don't know Sokol at all, so I can't possibly comment on what he was thinking, what was going on. I will say, and this is maybe presumptuous, but from my experience, particularly as general counsel, but even going on after that, but as general counsel of a company, you get to see all the dirty linen. I mean, everything that goes wrong comes to you.
Yeah, people don't come to you with good news and say, guess what we did right today?
The thing that I could never understand, we had a situation where we had a manager of a radio station when I was there. And he probably at the time made $250,000 or something like that. But he had a good career. It was an important position like that. And we caught him basically taking some shuttle tickets that had been made available for a raffle, an award on the radio station, worth about $300. And he ended his career, made a significant career, successful for like $300. The thing I could never understand, if you're going to go for 10 million. Okay, I don't approve of it, but it's understandable, okay? The thing I can understand is how many people wreck their careers over something relatively minor. And I don't know the situation, but as I understand, it was $3 million, which is, to most of us, a lot of money. But to Mr. Sokol, it doesn't sound like it's that much money, which maybe indicates that he didn't realize that it was wrong or bad. But it's surprising to me in my experience how many people step over the line in little ways that really go to basic integrity and that jeopardize it. And again, I would not be in a position to give Warren any advice, but I do think that there are a couple of possible pitfalls we all should be aware of. Whenever things like this happen at ABC News, I would invariably say, look, before we criticize them, let's think about whether we're doing that, whether there's something there that we could learn from. And I think that there are a couple of pitfalls.
Didn't Jesus say something about that? Before we worry about
the log out of your own eye, the mug.
Yeah, for the little speck in your friend's eyes, what about the log in your own?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But because most of these shortcomings are part of human nature. They're in all of us somewhere. Right. Now, it may not be dominant, it may not come to the surface, but there's virtually nothing that isn't in there somewhere, I think. And I think that there are a couple of dangers. One is trusting people too much. I mean, it's easy in your situations, and you work with these people, and you've been influenced, and they've done wonderful things for you, and you can trust people too much. We have to, for all the cynics who shows we're very bad, you have to always remember, we all have feet of clay, and all of us can make mistakes, even the people we work with longest and we trust the most. And the other thing that I think we can at least take as possible object lessons is, we may know our own heart is pure, and therefore we think that nothing wrong could be going on. I mean, Warren deep down inside knows, he's not cheating, he's not doing like that, so he just thinks nobody's organization will be like that. And I'm not saying that's happened here, but that's a vulnerability, I think. When you sort of know your own heart is pure, you just assume what's going on is okay.